All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're taking an objective, legal look at the absolute fallout of the Epstein Files Transparency Act. But, before we really get into the weeds of the law, we've got to unequivocally acknowledge the abhorrent reality of the child sex trafficking and pedophilia crimes that are at the very center of all of this. As a legal analyst, what really fascinates me here isn't just the sheer volume of the documents. Now, it's the chaotic and honestly often devastating fallout that happened when the law demanded their release. We're going to unpack how the government actually handled these files, the severe redaction failures that completely compromised victims, and the sweeping international consequences we're seeing right now. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll cover the Transparency Act mandate, the redaction failures, the international fallout, the No Escaping Justice Act, and finally, the digital history battle. Let's get to it. Section 1, the Transparency Act mandate, from promise to production. Okay, so the execution of this mandate happened at just a frantic pace. We're talking about a criminal history stretching all the way back to a 1996 FBI report. So in November 2025, the Transparency Act is signed into law, legally demanding public access within 30 days. By December, the Justice Department pushes out the first rushed batch. Then, boom, January 2026 hits, and we get this massive data dump of roughly 3.5 million pages. That was immediately followed in March by the restoration of about 50,000 previously removed files after some really intense public scrutiny. It was a rapid, highly pressurized rollout, to say the least. Now, you might remember that during the 2024 campaign, the administration was promising unfiltered transparency, right? Total full disclosure of the Epstein files. The final results? They were drastically different. Instead of full disclosure, the public got millions of pages that were just riddled with extensive, highly inconsistent redactions. And actually, some reports indicate that millions of pages might still be withheld under various legal arrangements. Still, officially speaking, the government basically said, job done. In a formal response letter to the January 3, 2026, the Attorney General certified full compliance after producing those 3.5 million pages. From a purely administrative perspective, the task complete. But, as we're about to see, the actual execution is heavily flawed. The crucial thing to understand here is what the statute actually demanded. The mandate explicitly required the DOJ to make these files public. That meant flight logs, communications, a list of convicted exposed persons, the whole shebang. But, and this is a massive but, it legally required them to carefully balance that transparency with the strict protection of victim information. They were ordered to release everything while safeguarding the innocent. Which brings us to Section 2, Redaction Failures and Victims, the human cost of data leaks. So, according to the DOJ's own documentation detailing their review protocol, the department utilized over 500 attorneys working just incredible amounts of overtime to manually review these documents. But despite this supposedly rigorous protocol, the sheer volume of 6 million reviewed pages led to absolutely disastrous inconsistencies. I mean, when you have hundreds of people rushing to meet a 30-day congressional deadline, human error isn't just possible, it's practically guaranteed. 43. Let that sink in. That is a shocking number. According to reviews of that January 2026 release, the full names of at least 43 victims, more than 24 of whom were literally minors when they were abused, were left completely unredacted and exposed to the entire world. And it wasn't just names either. Home addresses were fully searchable, and unredacted photographs were published online before they were hurriedly taken down. Unsurprisingly, the survivors themselves are now leading the call for real government accountability. As they so powerfully argued, these rushed disclosures essentially trampled their human rights. Instead of providing any sort of closure, the government's mishandling of this ultra-sensitive information put them at real, immediate physical and psychological risk. Attorneys representing these survivors pointed out this incredibly tragic legal irony. The government used faulty copying and pasting reduction techniques, some of which actually trace back to an old 2021 civil case that literally allowed anyone in the public to just copy the blacked out text, paste it into another document, and reveal the words underneath. This technical failure inadvertently protected some prominent perpetrators while severely re-victimizing the innocent people the law was literally designed to protect. It's just a chilling reminder of how a simple digital error can completely derail the pursuit of justice. Moving on to Section 3, International Fallout and Investigations, the Global Reach. Now, these leaked files have directly led to severe legal consequences for major foreign figures. For instance, former Norwegian Prime Minister Thorbjorn Jagland is currently facing charges of aggravated corruption. Over in the UK, Peter Mandelson and Andrew Mountbatten Windsor were actually arrested on suspicion of misconduct. The international legal dominoes are falling, and they're falling fast. And the global impacts ripple out even further than that. Slovakia's national security advisor resigned. New human trafficking probes were immediately launched in Turkey, Lithuania, and Latvia, all based on emails and travel logs found right there in the files. The political divide over who to hold accountable is definitely stark right now, but as UN rights experts emphatically stated, mere resignations are not an adequate substitute for genuine criminal justice. Section 4. The No Escaping Justice Act, sanctioning complicity. To enforce accountability globally, we're seeing the proposed No Escaping Justice Act. This legislation uses evidence pulled directly from the Epstein files to target complicit foreign nationals for strict asset blocking sanctions and visa bans, which would severely restrict their ability to travel to the U.S. The criteria are very specific. It targets anyone involved in the sex trafficking of minors, anyone aiding or facilitating it, anyone benefiting financially from it, or anyone obstructing investigations into these crimes. But as a legal analyst, my eyes always go straight to the exceptions, right? We have to carefully examine this legal loophole. The Act outlines a very exact process the president can use to exempt certain foreign individuals from these strict sanctions. Step 1, the president must identify a specific national security reason for the exemption. Step 2, they must report that complete reasoning directly to Congress. This right here is setting the stage for a massive, massive clash over congressional oversight versus executive power. Representative Debbie Wasserman Schultz underscored the intent behind the bill perfectly, calling it a first step to bring some measure of justice for those who conspired with Epstein. Driven by really intense party disagreements over how the current administration handled the files and those disastrous redactions, this legislation represents a direct, aggressive attempt by lawmakers to force administrative action against powerful international figures who show up in these documents. Finally, Section 5, the digital history battle, controlling the record. It really begs a massive question. Who actually controls the digital record? We are currently seeing a profound tension between official government disclosures on the one hand and the intentional, coordinated manipulation of public information platforms on the other. The department itself openly noted massive technical hurdles in formatting electronic evidence, like emails and third-party documents. Because files were provided in so many different formats, their document management system ended up displaying items with cut-off text or just weird, odd symbols. And these technical gaps and inconsistencies, they are exactly what bad actors have eagerly exploited to sow doubt online. We see this manipulation incredibly clearly on platforms like Wikipedia. The sources document ongoing, concerted efforts to sanitize Wikipedia entries. Bad actors have literally attempted to replace Epstein's official mugshot with more flattering photos. They've coordinated to remove references to his registered sex offender status, and they've tried to completely obscure the details of his 2008 plea deal. It is a highly systematic attempt to erase his criminal reality from the internet. It's literally a battle of historical memory versus digital manipulation. While the law mandates transparency, active digital erasure threatens to rewrite history, protecting the powerful while marginalizing the victims all over again. It really forces us to ask, if the historical record can be this easily manipulated, how can the public ever trust what they read online? So I want to leave you with this final thought. As these digital records are continuously sanitized, and as mechanical government redactions completely fail, how can we assure that forced transparency actually leads to justice, rather than just inflicting more trauma on the innocent survivors? It's definitely something to think about the next time you search for the truth online. Thanks for joining me for this explainer. We'll see you next time.